Morning, everybody, and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 28. Today, I'm going to be an extension of last week. Last week, we talked about words, and I told you about my professor's favorite, peeve words, irregardless and reoccurrence. My peeve words, which is acts, and the phrase "I'm sorry," used but totally used the wrong way. Well, this week, the entire thing is going to be about one word. One word that means so much to me, and yet it doesn't anymore because it's totally been stepped on, smashed, till it barely resembles what it's supposed to be. And that word is used by everyone. I don't care what profession you're in, I don't care, what education you've had in America. Okay, this is only in America. But what people talk about, and they use it so, they stand behind it. They use it like a shield, they use it like a weapon. And that's not what it's supposed to be. But they do use it. And that word is democracy. I know. We all know, we all think we know what it means. But, and we think that the United States is a democracy. And we think that, and you hear it all the time by our politicians, they love using that word, especially the Democrats, But all democracy is rule of the people. That's all it means. It's really, it's really simple. It comes from the Greek word demos, which means people, and Croatia. That's where you get the crusty, and that means the rule. Hey, I don't make up the languages, folks. I just let you know. But it means rule of the people, and basically is that just majority rules. And America is not that. Okay, don't get confused, please. It's very easy to get confused. I know a lot of people and they believe it. We live in a democracy. No, we live in a federal republic. I've said this many times, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. That flag stands for a republic. There is no mention of democracy. And this, do you think that was a mistake? No, it was purposely done that. Our forefathers purposely left out democracy. They did not want a democracy. The last true democracy we had was in ancient Greece, believe it or not. And that didn't work. The Greeks went from democracy, then they went to republic, then they went to Caesar. And Caesar was the king. And we all know what the Caesars did to the Republic of Rome. The Roman Empire at one time was the empire of the world, and thanks to Caesar and their incredibly wasteful ways, they destroyed it. But remember, I told you every 250 to 300 years, well, that's how their rule was destroyed. And Caesar went down and they became a republic again. I've been looking at it, and according to what I can find, there is only one, and it's called a liberal democracy. I don't know. They put these adjectives in front of democracy, and it's just like it's a medium hot. Like your food. Spicy hot, medium hot. Hot honey now. Well, yeah, I get hot honey. Yeah, just put them on the stove and turn the stove on, or put it in the microwave, turn the microwave on, it comes out hot. No, 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 no. Taste. These people nowadays. But it's a liberal democracy, and that country is Switzerland. Yeah, but you remember Switzerland. Switzerland has a reputation, would you say, or a history of being neutral. They don't take sides. They don't take. Leave us alone. And we're a country. Yeah, we're part of Scandinavia, but leave us alone. We want to be neutral. And the funny part was like during World War II, both sides agreed. Okay, that's sanctuary. The the country of Switzerland was sanctuary. You go in there and you're safe. They're not fighting, and then they didn't. Although if Hitler had won, you know what would happen, right? Right. But anyway, Switzerland is the only liberal democracy. They have 4 elections a year, and I look up on it because I really didn't. I knew Swiss cheese, chocolate, Swiss chocolate, good. IKEA, right, is in Switzerland, and then Shania Twain's ex-husband is from Switzerland. Hey, different people have different importance, different attentions. But anyway, like I said, they have 4 elections a year, and if you want your um, referendum on the election, if it's not a if it doesn't address the Constitution, if it's just like a law, a charter law, you can have it as a town thing, you know, yeah, a little town province, a provincial thing. But if you want a national change, like you want to make an amendment to the Constitution, um, you can put it on there, but you must be able to get 2 for 1. In other words, you have to have two either yays or two nays for it to pass. Okay, for this thing, and usually going to be two yays because you're going to be asking for something, the retraction of something or the amendment of something. So you have to have two yays for every nay, which is what America is. America, you got to have 2/3. That's what 2 to 1 means. 2/3, and they have it 4 times a year. Now sounds really great, right? Right. But you got to remember their population is about 8 million. Okay, out of the 8 million, 4.2 million vote. This is nationally. This is the whole nation. 4.2 million vote. I think there are more people in. Well, I know there's more people in New York and Los Angeles than there are in the whole of you know the whole of Switzerland. So it wouldn't work for America. Think of it. Okay, think of making um, a lunch party for 10. Okay, that would be Switzerland. Now think of the same lunch party for 500. That would be America. Just to give you a feel of size, what you would need, what you would have to do, and get the same results. Now you see the logistics of it. You got to think outside the box. Everything. So yeah, for Switzerland, it works. The people too, the mindset of the people. They still, well, and it's waning because they're the last polling, less than half of the people voted. So they're starting to see the futility of it. Okay, they don't have a president; they have a council, and this council picks a leader, and that leader's term is 1 year. So in 1 year, you got to do as much as you can for your part. There are 4 parties, 4 political parties, so you got to do as much as you can for your agenda. But you also got to talk the other three. The other three. It's all checks and balances. That's what our forefathers were after. That's what makes it equal. Remember the balance? Okay, checks and balances, folks. Our forefathers tried to make. I mean, you can't make a perfect. You can't go perfect, but you can try and do it, and set the groundwork for balance. And that's what they did. That's why they split the government into three sections: legislative, judicial, and executive. Each does its own thing, but each checks the other one out. Each balances, and then you have a tiebreaker. So you have the legislative. Congress makes the law, and then you have the judicial. The Supreme Court interprets the law, and then you have the executive. The executive enforces and executes the law. See, all three do different things, but they all do the same thing, and they all check. Supposed to. This is how it was set up. Supposed to check each other. Okay, and because of money, again, evil, it hasn't been working that much. But now that's how come everybody hates Trump. You see, before you could buy, I mean, look at the, oh, I see the stuff that's happening with Biden. And folks, we're in for some really rough time. But like I said, you know, I don't want to be a fatalist and I don't want to, beat this to the pulp, but we are on the way down. And Trump sees it. He knows what's happening, but he's not going to tell everybody because then they're going to say that, you know, that clown is nuts. And the Democrats will jump all over that. So what he's going to do is he's going to let you see it. But people don't see it. They listen to these other guys that saying he's nuts. And he isn't. He is not crazy. But he cannot tell you, you cannot get full transparency, folks, because you can't handle it. It takes a while. Even I research stuff and I come up with stuff and I can't believe it. But then now I've learned to admit that, yeah, our government isn't pearly white. We're not, the best of the best. We're just as, and the more contact I have with different governmental departments and workers, I believe it. We're going the other way. Oh my goodness. It just, I cannot believe these leaders of ours and the stuff they're saying. It's like, hey, whatever you're taking, can I have some, caring? Sharing is caring, baby. Pass it on. I want to see the world like how you see it. They're out there. Yeah. I'm not going to say they're nuts. They're just different. It's really watered down. But yeah, our forefathers. So in essence, if you want to be whacked between the eyes, the reason why we're not a democracy is simple. Our forefathers knew people, knew population. They knew, what would happen, and they didn't trust us, which was true because they knew that the population would be sided and they would vote. They would go with the majority of a bad idea for the country. It's bad, but it could be sold. Look at the riots. Look at all on TV, all on TV. The riots, the riots, the riots. If this king thing, Trump is a king. Let me tell you, I'll give you a really real life scenario. If Trump was a king, he brings in the National Guard. He brings in the Marines. He brings in the Army. They go to a protest and they tell you, please disperse, okay? Because you wouldn't have a constitution. We have a kingdom. You have no constitution. So you have no right to free speech. You have no right to protest. You have no right to due process. You are under a king. So he tells you to disperse. We have, and you guys don't disperse. Guess what the troops do? They don't push you out of the way. They shoot you out of the way. He's a king. He can do whatever he wants. That's a king, folks. Okay? Think about it. Really let it set in. That's what a king would do. You guys talk the talk. That's what happens if you have to walk. That's why Trump is not a king. But the media, they love, remember I told you, using fear, and everybody loves to jump in that river. Okay? So all of this, that's forest, baby. That's why I said, everybody with the TP. And how do I get to this, to this world-shaking revelation? I kiss. Now you know why those 5 terms to me are so important? I use them now. I really do, and I see right through it. And I just shake my head because you add them all up and that's what it comes out to. The downfall of a society. Sad, yeah? I know it's sad, and I wish it didn't happen. Okay, back to democracy. So our forefathers didn't trust us, so they made us a republic. Okay? Now, another thing about democracy people use, when people use it, and they get it wrong, really wrong, is that, like, I'm sorry is synonymous with absolvement. Remember I told you? When you say you're sorry, you're forgiven. Well, when you say democracy, you mean freedom. No, folks. Democracy has not. The freedom you have in democracy is you have a freedom to vote, but it doesn't mean you're free. Okay? With that vote, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility should be the betterment of the country. Like John F. Kennedy says, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. He was surmising the same thing. But these people, what have you done for me lately? What can I get out of it? What, everybody get I problem. The joke used to be there's no I in TEAM. But now they come back and say, yeah, but there's a me. You know, like they used to say, you can catch more flies with sugar than you can with vinegar. And I tell them, yeah, but that's wrong. You can catch more flies with BS than you can with sugar. So not too many people say that anymore. I know all of our good sayings, just pop the balloon. Yeah, but it's freedom. And it's not freedom because we have shown we can't take the responsibility for freedom, which makes our forefathers brilliant because they knew it. They knew man. They knew what happens. They're not going to give us freedom because the freedom makes chaos. It doesn't make a better place, folks. I mean, it's great to have it if it's used sparingly and responsibly. Oh, yeah, it's great. I can figure out what I'm going to have for dinner. I can figure out what kind of car I want to buy, what I want to wear, you know, where I want to walk to. If I want to go to visit downtown Chinatown, I can do that. Don't have to stop and get carded and everything. Yeah, that's freedom. And if I follow the laws, I should get there and come back, hopefully, without getting beaten up or getting shot or getting, you know, accosted in any way. That's what freedom does. But these people think that they can get louder, they can be violent. That takes away all freedom. When you exercise the fact that you can't handle it, you lose it. Use it or lose it. And people, you guys are overusing it. And you guys lost. I mean, in L.A., right? The president brought in the troops, and everybody said, "Oh no, he cannot. He can't." He has that kind of power. It's not because he's king, but because he's the leader. Like I told you, if he was king, that's what would happen. You guys wouldn't. Tiananmen Square, remember that? They shot those people. They ran them over with tanks. And that was in front of the world cameras. And they just let it go and people forgot about it. Today you tell the kids, have you ever heard of Tiananmen Square or the event of Tiananmen Square? Kent State during the 60s. A lot of you don't remember it. They had a protest on campus and they had National Guard, and National Guard accidentally, you know, let loose some bullets and they killed some of the kids. Okay, a king, that would have never happened. You would have had revolt. Rah! No revolt, just okay. Bring the rubbish cannons here. Come on, let's get rid of the bodies. Or if you're your family, like in China when they execute you, you know they send the body to the family and a bill for the for the execution. And people laugh it off, but that is a kingdom. Okay, and you're true. Opposite of democracy is a kingdom. Put one and one together, folks. We lose the democracy. Guess what this nation becomes? Exactly. Exactly. It becomes that kingdom. Remember I told you about the balance, right? The balance. You got 10 pounds over here, and right now we're like this. How much force would it take to bring us back down? But the force is not going to stop. It's going to continue. And then it's going to say, hey, I like this. And they're going to hold you down and hold the people up here. And eventually, a country that powerful would have more people than America. America, we don't have that many. We have 350 million. Compared with China, okay? Because China, like USSR, they've got 180 million. If the USSR were to take over America, their 180 million could be easily absorbed by America. I mean, not every man, woman, and child is going to move out of Russia. But if they were to take over, but how would a country so small and they really do, they don't have as advanced weapons as we do. Okay, they don't. They like to, and the media and everybody acts like they do. They don't. Okay, it's all a facade. Okay, like I told you, in Ukraine, we were giving the Ukrainians, we were supplying them with our substandard, you know, not the top of the line stuff. Giving them USDA good meat, and they were keeping up to or repelling the Russians. They repelled them. They kept them back with just our mediocre weapons. Imagine what we could do if we use our real ones. And Russia knows this. Okay, Putin will push, but he won't push all the way because he really knows what we have. He knows that we can, turn his country into a wasteland because they really don't have that many, excuse me, that many raw materials above ground. Most of the raw materials are underground. Yeah. That's just the reality, folks. So, like I said, all this attention is to Russia, and it shouldn't be. Um, I don't, I don't think China has the military strength yet, but they don't want it because that's that's very anti-Eastern thinking, really. The Japanese were an exception, with the aggression and all that kind of stuff and fighting and kill. Yeah, they were feudalism. That's their culture. The Chinese, they're more savvy. How you need the people. Why kill them? You need the resources. Why destroy them? Let it destroy itself. Because if it breaks itself, it's easier to ascertain the condition. Can you fix it? Can you remodel it? Or do you have to demolish it and rebuild? It's easier when it's already kaput. And the Chinese know this. They've been waiting 10,000 years, folks. They can wait a few more. They just gotta, they nudge. They learn to nudge. The fentanyl coming from China, we know it. But these idiots that want it, hey, let them take it. If they're going to OD, let them OD. That's called hurdle cleansing. I mean, I hate to sound real cold, but like I said, the person who ODs, first time we give you the spray. Second time, go with God. That's simple. I know it's really heartbreaking, but that kind of individual you really don't need in your society to make the society better. I'm a honeybee. Yeah, I believe in the hive. I don't believe in my fellow bees because I know my fellow bees are hopefully my fellow bees are gonna be there and they wanna make the hive good too. That's why we all work together. You know? And yet it's not so. We're each individuals. No, well, yes, we are, but that's not how humans work. We're a herd animal. We're a social animal. We're not a solitary animal like a mountain lion or like a polar bear or, a predatory animal that hunts by itself, lives by itself, and only sees the other sex to mate if it needs it anyway. I mean, you have that. You have that kind. Even sharks, they thought sharks were solitary. They found out, no, they get together to, look, the hammerheads. They have schools of hammerheads. And they get together to get it on. Tonight's the night. But man isn't like that. Man is a herd animal. We have to socialize. We have the ability to socialize. We have the ability to rationalize. We have the ability to communicate. We have the ability to be nice. And it should be natural. Funny, it's not. And it's this drive for that the species, survival of the strongest kind of thing. That's where we get our power from. That little bit, it's a double-edged sword. yeah, this alpha male thing, it's good because it makes it it makes the species stronger because the alpha male is supposed to have the stronger genes. Okay, so he's going to rise to the top. So he should get the pick of the litter. And in a way it does, when the guy has it. But then the female is supposed to be not not under, but I mean, they each have their own role. You know, salt is salt, pepper is pepper, sugar is sugar. You can't put them all together. Salty sugar, you know. Well, now they're doing hot honey, right? Spicy honey. But yeah, each has his own place. Each has their own duties. And when we start mixing them up, it gets very confusing. And that's what's happening now, folks. Very confusing. And um, that LBG, LBGTQ, whatever. Okay, that movement that was here, they screwed up because they took too much too fast. See, you gotta understand. You're gonna be like Trump in the military. If you transgender, you out. You know why? Not because see, we taking it to the transgender. He's taking it to the whole army and the morale. A lot of the guys nowadays we're not a draft army. We're volunteer, and he knows what kind of people we attract for the non-com. Okay, officer training you can do it as legacy. You can do it as you want to be. Some guys want to be just a leader, so I met those. But non-coms, they're either running away from something or they want to serve their country. And that's the way they think. But their mentality, I'm man. And you're not going to change that mentality. Without soldiers, we have no army. Without the army, all the transgenders in the world, in the United States, they're not going to fight. Only a certain few. So it's like weeds in a garden patch. You weed them out. And that's all Trump's doing, weeding them out. Yeah, it's bad for that. And, I see it on TV and everything. I see it on the news. But it's good for the country. See, the news itself is bad. I see the news just to get the headlines. And I don't even believe I believe the headlines in what happened. I just don't believe in how it happened by what they're reporting because the reporting today is so bad. Oh, don't even get me started on that. Like that crash in India with the plane went down. Hey, you notice they took a picture of the nose cone that went through a building and didn't smash against the building? Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe the building wasn't solid. Maybe it was made out of paper mache or something. But the rest of the building was still there, so it couldn't have been that weak. And yet the plane's nose went through. Yet 9/11 at the Pentagon, they never found no part of that plane that hit the Pentagon. The Pentagon that solid? No, concrete not that solid. I mean, it's solid, but they showed what happens when they had a F-104. They had the motors on, they flew it on a skid, and they put it into an 18-inch concrete wall, and the concrete wall totally disintegrated the plane. The plane totally disintegrated against the, and you know, nothing was damaged on the other side of the wall. That was to show how tough concrete is. Well, if concrete's that tough, how did the plane go through the 9/11 towers, both of them, all the way through the building? You see what I mean? It just you gotta use your own brain, okay, and get this thought about democracy. Understand what it is and go on with it. We're a federal republic. Yes, we have freedom, but it isn't because of democracy. It is because the freedoms are granted by our forefathers and our Constitution. Democracy has nothing to do with it. Okay, so get it out of your heads. I know it's a hard thing to do. I know you don't want to do it. I know you're going to jump into the river, but think about it. That's all I want to do. Just plant these seeds of knowledge and wisdom. I don't make anything out of this. I don't get anything out of doing what I'm doing, popping your bubble, except to try start these neurons working. Okay, we're at the 30-minute mark. Fast, yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. So just remember, you have the freedom to like and subscribe, and please tell your friends about it. And I hope you guys have a good week. And as usual, ahui ho, maalama pono, and always from my heart to yours, aloha. Bye bye. Love you.